Adventure in the Bear Valley. Focus question. What information in the text helps reader better understand the characters? Going to California sure sounded like a grand idea when Pa and Pa were alive. Emily said in a low voice, the hush of the dark words sending rivers down her spine. Emily's brother, Jess, glanced gravely at her as he picked up branches of firewood. When Ma and Pa died, we didn't have any choice but to continue heading west. Like many pioneers, the parents had died in the perilous trail to California, and the Hutchinsons, a young pioneering couple, had taken them in. The four of them had traveled for days to the grandest, greenest mountains they have ever seen. The family set up a camp somewhere between the west slopes in California, just as the sun rays faded into the horizon of the late September sky. The Hutchinsons seemed really nice enough, Emily said, reflecting on the friendly Mrs. Hutchinson, a timid woman who spent all of her time in the wagon. We're not their family, Jess said shortly. Don't tie to them just yet. The wagon train had left the plains of Michigan in the April on the promise of hitting pay dirt in Serena, Nevada, a gold country by October. A couple weeks ago, the wagon and a few others had split from the main group on a route that would lead them to kin who had already settled in California. Being between hay and grass, Jess had signed to be Mrs. Hunchin's appearances after Ma and Pa passed. Mr. Hutchinson, a rather bully blacksmith, planned to sell tools he made to miners, and where Jess went, Emily dutifully followed, helping Mrs. Hutchinson cook and do chores. As they gathered more firewood, Emily heard twigs snap. A low growl came from a clump of trees to the left. Did you hear that? Emily whispered urgently to Jess. Let's head back. I don't like it out here, pleaded Emily as the shadows grew long and the forest turned dark at midnight. Afraid of some boogeyman? Jess teased gently. Well, I think we've got plenty of firewood anyway. Let's get out of here. Walking back to the camp, Emily couldn't help but glancing over her shoulder every few steps. Just in time, Mr. Hutchinson said with a smile as they returned to camp. I think the fire was about to peter out. Jess cowled, just as a harmless remark, but lately Jess was like a bear with a sore head around Mrs. Hutchinson. Emily, Mrs. Hutchinson's voice interrupted her thoughts. Would you help me bake some biscuits? I'll be glad to, Emily said. She walked over to covered wagon and stored everything they owned beneath the ground canvas over. Emily fetched a heavy iron skillet Mrs. Hutchinson used to make the meals. Campfire biscuit again? Jess said. I'd give anything for a helping plate of Ma's biscuit. Emily knew what he meant, and that he would give anything to have Ma back again. Emily looked at Mr. and Mrs. Hutchinson. They both winced when Jess mentioned the biscuit. She hoped they didn't think Jess was criticizing Mrs. Hutchinson's cooking. Emily, when we get to the Bear Valley, Mrs. Hutchinson said, could you show me how to make your ma's recipe for biscuits? I'm sure mine don't hold a candle to her. Before Emily could answer, Mr. Hutchinson said, I have good news for you, dear. We just entered Bear Valley. We should be all your brother's homestead in a couple of days. Why do they call it Bear Valley? Emily said. Mrs. Hutchinson gave her husband a look that said, don't answer that, but he ignored it. The children need to know the danger in this wilderness, Elizabeth, he said to his wife. He explained, there are bears in these woods, big black bears, bigger grizzly bears, and even mountain lions. We need to be careful and don't wander into the woods alone. That night, Emily fell asleep quickly, dragged out by traveling and chores. She tossed and turned throughout the night as she dreamed of the strange forest creatures. The next morning, Emily woke up early to find the light frost had been blanket grounded. I'll make flapjacks, she said to herself, wanting to surprise Jess and the Hutchinsons. Emily would braid her hair as the sun peeked over the mountains, burning off the frost. Emily was dying to change into a clean, pressed dress like her mother laid out for her on Sundays, but she'll have to wait until they reached her homestead instead. The campfire fluttered, and flames all but dead. Emily leaned over, intending to shake her brother awake to collect wood, but Jess looked so peaceful he couldn't bring himself to wake him. He wrapped a blanket and headed into the woods. The morning was strangely silent, and a brisk of westerly wind blew through the giant spurs of trees. The sun had yet to penetrate the company of the green leaves. Emily shivered. She gathered wood, moving quickly with her arms loaded with damp, dead wood. She turned back to camp. Again, she heard a low growl and her spine stiffened. The sound came closer. Emily was so terrified to move. Her stomach tightened. He'd never see Jess again. Just then, Jess leaped from behind a giant spruce tree wearing a big grin. Emily started. I should feel you bark and dirt the boss, Jess Edward. Jess tried unsuccessfully to stifle his laughter. I was going to make your mom's recipe for flapjacks, Emily taunted. Now I've got second thoughts. Emily smiled unapologetically. Hold your horses. I was just joking. You know I love mom's flapjacks. Jess took some of the wood from Emily as she pinched his arm, kissing like made Jess' turtle face look almost happy. When they turned to Mrs. Hutchinson smile, Emily smiled back. Jess winced Mr. Hutchinson was feeding the oxen. It was Jess' job to feed the animals in the morning, and he thought Mr. Hutchinson might have a blow-up, but Mr. Hutchinson held his tongue as if he was angry. I'm making flapjacks, Emily explained. Mr. Hutchinson agreed. Elizabeth loves flapjack, he said, and so do I. While Emily mixed batter for flapjacks, Mr. Hutchinson went back to wake his wife, but returned wearing a long frown, while the lights crinklingly deepened his tanned face. Elizabeth got a fever. We'll have to stay here until she's feeling better, he said. That means we should find more food and water. Our provisions won't last much longer. I saw a stream back there, Jess offered. We can refill our water canteens and maybe catch a few fish. I would like to lose a bit of it when she's feeling so poorly, Mr. Hutchinson said. I'll stay here and care for her, Emily volunteered, hoping to give Jess and Mr. Hutton much-needed time together. Mr. Hutchinson reluctantly agreed and gathered canteens while Jess got the fishing gear. Emily checked on Mrs. Hutchinson, who was awake and lying under a pair of blankets on the wooden pallet of the wagon. How are you feeling, Mrs. Hutchinson? Emily inquired. Mrs. Hutchinson gave her a weak smile. Please call me Elizabeth, she said. You and Jess are like family now. Emily cautiously smiled back at her, uncertain of what to say. Would you like a cup of tea? Or maybe some flapjacks, Emily said. I covered them with a towel and keep them by the fire. They should still be warm. Elizabeth nodded gratefully. Emily hurried down the wagon to make tea and get the flapjacks. As she approached the fire, she stopped in her tracks. There, in the campsite, stood a rather small bear gulping down Elizabeth's flapjacks. Ellie's mind raced, but she was frozen on the spot. She stared at the bear for a few agonizing slow seconds, trying to remember everything her pa had taught her about wild animals. Emily realized the animal must have been attracted to the camp by the smell of food. She tried to remember everything she had been told about bears, but her mind went blank. The young grizzly hadn't noticed her yet, but Emily knew a cub in the camp met her mother most likely lurking nearby. She needed to get the cub out there and fast. But how? Emily backed away slowly. She needed to get back to the wagon before Elizabeth came out to see what was taking so long. Everything inside of her wanted to run, but somehow she knew the worst thing to do. The bear would probably think of a fresh fruit if she ran. She slowly backed away. She froze when the bear cub suddenly lifted his head and sniffed the air, exposing his sharp right teeth. Emily didn't move, and the cub went back to fragment of the food. Emily had an idea, but she had to get back to the wagon. She forced herself to gingerly walk a few steps to the wagon and climb in, breathing hard. Emily, what's wrong? Elizabeth said. Your face is as white as a sheet. There's a bear cub outside, Emily said, and his mom is probably close by. What should we do? Emily said. I have an idea, Elizabeth said, as she peeked out of the wagon. What she saw outside made her sick with fear. A second bear had joined the cub. This one was huge, with finely large claws and teeth. Oh no, she breathed, but Elizabeth heard her. What is it? She asked anxiously. The mama bear is here, Emily said. Now I don't know if my idea will work. She knew Mr. Hutchinson and Jess wouldn't be back at camp for hours, and if they have a rifle, Emily had promised Mr. Hutchinson that she would take care of Elizabeth. Elizabeth got up from her pallet, pale and shaky.